I sorrow when she's here with me, thinks these dark days of autumn rain are beautiful as days can be. She loves the bare, the withered tree. She walks the sodden pasture lane. Her pleasure will not let me stay. She talks, and I am fain to list. She's glad the birds are gone away. She's glad her simple worsted gray is silver now with clinging mist. The desolate, deserted trees, the faded earth, the heavy sky, the beauties she so truly sees, she thinks I have no eye for these, and vexes me for reason why. Not yesterday I learned to know the love of bare November days before the coming of the snow. But it were vain to tell her so, and they are better for her praise. I had a hard time thinking about what I wanted to talk about with Frost because not understanding his poems is different from not understanding Kipling's poems. With Kipling, the problem is that he kind of speaks another language, but once you translate them, they're very easy to understand. You got a man, an elephant, a sewer. It's pretty straightforward. Frost poems are hard to understand because they're kind of designed to be hard to understand. They're not about a specific story or a specific event. They're not really about anything. They just kind of hint at the general vicinity of an idea to kind of get you thinking in that direction. And they bring up really cool ideas, and they're fun to think about, but they're much harder to talk about. So I can't tell you what this poem means, because it means all sorts of different things to different people in different places at different times. What I can tell you is what it means to me this year. So that's what we're going to talk about here. So one of the ideas he hints at is the idea of depression as something external to the person experiencing it. And that's not a unique idea. The Dementors in Harry Potter impose depression from without. Mercedes Lackey in the last Harold Mage trilogy had shadows that did the same thing. It's a really common sort of meme. And that's partly because it does, in many ways, feel like something that's not part of you. You are suffering from depression, but the depression itself is something else external to you, weighing you down, holding you. So that's a common sort of image. And that can be a really helpful way of thinking about depression for some people when they're going through it. As Jim Butcher says, once you start thinking, hey, maybe it's not me that's thinking about suicide, the whole thing kind of falls apart. And so that model of depression can be really helpful for a lot of people. But there's also more to it, unless you're Ron Weasley. There's more to life than I'm happy or I'm sad. There's emotional nuance in there. And there's a reason that a lot of artists tend to be, in some way, depressive, because it does bring out a lot of emotional nuance and a lot of depth of emotion when you are going through that. And that feels really weird to say. When you say, I would hate to lose my depression because it adds so much to my life, it makes you sound demented and it makes you sound crazy. So most people don't say that, but they don't seek treatment either because they don't want to feel happy all the time. They don't want to lose the insight and the depth that depression brings. Daniel Goleman, in Emotional Intelligence, argues that our negative emotions evolved same as our positive emotions because they bring us some sort of benefit. Anger makes you defensive and ready to fight people, and that's really valuable if there's something that needs to be defended. Worry makes you think over things that might go wrong and what you would do in those situations and how you can fix them. And that's a really valuable thing to have. And sorrow makes you stop and sit back and reflect on what really matters here and what are we doing and what do I want and what's going on here. And in times of change or times of loss, that's the thing you need to be doing. Now, all of those things can go drastically wrong. Taken too far, anger can cause you to lose way more things than your willingness to fight can allow you to keep. Taken too far, when you start worrying about things that you can't control, or you keep worrying long after you've already come up with a plan to deal with things, then that's edging into anxiety disorder. And when sorrow goes too far and it becomes depression and it is crushingly, overwhelmingly painful for you to just exist day to day when it cripples you and prevents you doing anything, then it's a problem. But in moderation, each of those negative emotions can bring as much joy and benefit to our lives as those emotions that we associate more positively. And I think that this poem is an homage to that sort of gentle sorrow that, no, it's not pleasant, but it does bring richness and depth to your life. That if you're willing to sit and look out at November and ignore the pain of the summer passing away and of everything feeling dead and bare, there is beauty in it. There's the snow clinging to tree branches, and trees have structure and intricacy that is usually hidden by leaves, and the stars that you see so much more of because the days are so much shorter. There's a lot of beauty there if you're willing to look. In this poem, his sorrow is a guest that's pointing out all of this beauty. And in point of fact, when he sits and looks at it, he finds that beauty, which is not to say that he wants to be sad. It's still painful, it's still seasonal depression. November really is a month dedicated to reminding you that time is passing, things are changing, summer is gone, to that particular form of beauty. But you can't have that sort of beauty unless you're willing to accept the sorrow that goes along with it. Japanese actually has a word devoted to the special sort of beauty that is ephemeral and will be passing away, and the beauty of knowing that things pass on and time passes on and things change. And so yes, he's learned to love November days, but only because his sorrow pointed their beauty out to him, and they are better for her praise.